When Tommy's boss at a big insurance company in California made fun of him and embarrassed him, everyone else began to do the same. No one, not even Tommy, imagined that everyone in the building would soon be working for him. Tommy was a simple guy who was used to bad things happening to him. He was no longer moved by bad news because of all the bad things that happened to him in his childhood. Before he died in the Middle East on a botched secret mission, Tommy's dad was in the Marine Corps for more than 10 years. Even though his life wasn't easy before his father died, it only got worse after. His mother, Daisy Price, was a waitress. She had to get a second job because of this, to make ends meet. Every day she had to get up at 5 a.m. and get ready to catch the bus, and her day didn't end until 11 p.m., leaving her both physically and mentally tired. Daisy got sick when her son was only 12 years old. This could have happened because she was so stressed. The woman had been working to feed her son, yet she was always tired, didn't sleep much, and had headaches all the time. Tommy saw that his mother was in pain and did what he could to help her. The young boy learned to cook and was in charge of taking care of the whole house, but he felt like that wasn't enough and that he should do even more. He wanted to work at a local grocery store, but his mother stopped him. She said she didn't want him to be an adult so soon. She kept acting like everything was fine. She didn't know at the time that her choice would cost her her life. Daisy Price died of a brain tumor that could have been treated if she had gone to the doctor sooner. Tommy was hurting a lot. He was on his own in the world after his parents died. He was smart enough to know that he would have to go to a shelter in a few days, so he was getting ready. But by chance, or by bad luck, the police found out that the boy had an aunt who he had never met. They made a deal that she would look after the child. His bad luck was caused by the fact that Aunt Ellie did not love children or even like them. In fact, she only agreed to take care of Tommy so that she could get the father's income and have a better life. Tommy's life with his aunt and her husband was awful. The boy was stuck in his room all day with nothing to do but stare at the wall while his aunt and husband were working. He had trouble making friends and getting used to his new school after he moved there. Aunt Ellie got even stricter as time went on. She was clearly clueless about how to deal with a young teen. She wouldn't let the boy go anywhere else, only to school or back home. So Tommy grew up angry, with no friends and nobody to turn to, not even a single soul in this world to help him. Every day the boy thought about how much his real mother and father had given up for him to have a good life. But now that he's on his own, no one would be willing to do this for him. So when he was 13, he went to his room thinking for a new plan. The boy started putting away money his aunt gave him for lunch in a secret box in his closet. Also, his aunt took care of the money he made as a cleaner every month, but he hid a few tips he got. He was saving money so that as soon as he turned 18, he could get out of the house. No one paid him any attention, and his aunt also beat him all the time. But Tommy also knew that he couldn't just run away without being ready, so he did what his late mother told him. "Study, my son. No matter what. They can take the house, money, and other things, but they can't take away what you know, so study." And that's what the kid did for all 4 years of high school, working as hard as he could and getting the best GPA in his class. When he turned 18, he could finally leave his aunt's house. He ran away and said he would never come back. He put his few clothes in a bag and left to find a cheap place to sleep for the night. He was no longer in school, and it was only a matter of time before he ran out of money as well. Tommy looked for work in an office. He was smart and got good grades, so he thought that would help him get a good job. But the fact that he only ever washed dishes for a living made it hard for him to find a job. No one would hire an 18-year-old who had never done the job before. They had only heard back about one job in the area. "Listen, I know you want this job in an office, but your training is nothing like what we need for this job. I can only give you a job as a janitor in this building," said Dexter Harris, the company's senior manager. This wasn't Tommy's dream job, but he didn't feel bad about it because he knew that every job was important, and that as time passes, his life would get better and we would find something more in line with what he was looking for. When the young man came to work for the first time, The head of Human Resources Department just gave him a few questions and didn't pay him much attention. As Tommy was leaving the room, he looked around and noticed that people didn't seem too happy that he had been hired. Everyone looked at the man with a hostile face, as if they didn't want him there. Tommy couldn't figure out why they seemed so mad. He soon found out that it was all because of Dexter Harris, the top boss who gave Tommy the job. He was the one that started making jokes and giving people mean looks at work. Before Tommy started working there, Dexter was always talking about how skinny and badly dressed Tommy was. Sad to say, this was true. The young man didn't have any dress clothes or a way to iron them, so he looked a little less put together than the other workers. He also didn't eat very much, which made him very thin. Ironically, Dexter said to him, someone should tell him it's not Halloween and he should change his clothes. Everyone in the office laughed, and they laughed at everything the man said to make their boss happy. Tommy didn't have to wait long to find that people would make jokes about him. When he went into a room to take out the trash or sweep the floor, the other workers always looked at him. What do I need to do? I'm just a floor cleaner at the office. Well, he's the boss. I should keep my mouth shut and hope they don't fire me, the young man thought with a frown. But no one could complain about how good his work was, or make bad jokes about it, so the young man had a chance of keeping his job. The offices had been cleaned since he had started working there. There was never even a bit of dust on the tables or a dirty spot on the floor. Every day the trash was picked up at the same time. Some of Tommy's fellow employees seemed to like him more after this, because they didn't laugh with their boss. One of them was Holly, who was only 2 years older than Tommy, and had just started working there a few months before. She was still learning the ropes. She stood out, not only because she was pretty, but also because she knew how to deal with people and could solve problems quickly. As soon as Holly walked into the office, a lot of guys, including Dexter, noticed her. The top boss had never been married or had kids, even though he was in his 40s. He was always dating new people, usually younger women. When Tommy, a simple cleaner, asked Holly to go to the movies, he was surprised how quickly she said yes. On the other hand, the young woman didn't know that Dexter, her boss and manager, were also interested in her because he didn't do anything to show it. She thought that going on a date with Tommy would be fine, but then people started talking about the office cleaner, which made people dislike him even more. People in the office started to say that the beautiful woman was getting serious with the janitor after they went out a few times. This news got to Dexter quickly, and he was angry that she had chosen someone else over him. Who does he think he is, treating me this way? The boss slammed his hands on the desks and said, I'm going to stop this nonsense and make him pay for it. Unfortunately, Dexter had already done what he said he would the next day, causing total chaos at young Tommy's workplace. When the young man got to work, put on his clothes, and got his brooms and rags, he realized that no one was talking to him or even looking at him. Good afternoon, he said, but no one answered. Tommy thought this wouldn't change his friendship with Holly. But when he walked to his desk, he realized he was wrong. She wouldn't look at him at all. She went back to work instead. She was just worried about losing her job, as Tommy was. And she didn't want to upset her boss and start a fight over someone she called a janitor with no future. Think you understand now, don't you? I'm in charge here. I'm in charge of this business and its employees. And you. So you stupid, ignorant person. I think you should go and find a woman far away from me, yelled Dexter. The cleaner didn't say anything and went to do his job for the day. Holly's treatment of him was part of the story that hurt him the most, even though he knew they wouldn't be together forever. The young man thought she would treat him better than the other workers. Tommy had been in so many uncomfortable situations that he couldn't take any more. He was ready to leave his job and find a new one. But he knew this was risky, because the job market wasn't doing so well. It's hard to say what would happen if Tommy hadn't discovered a lost puppy on the street, as he did last night. He was walking home from work when the little dog started to follow him. The man tried to scare the animal away, but it had followed him all the way back to the apartment he had just rented. As Tommy carried the puppy up the stairs, he thought, well, I guess I don't have any choice but to adopt the dog now. Oh my goodness, young man, his friend said when he saw the dog. You can't even feed yourself. You're as thin as a stick, and now you have a dog? You have a good heart, but you need to use your head to make it in this world. Tommy got along well with this person, who lived next door to him. She was a very old woman, who lived alone in her room. She was always there, so didn't look like she had any family. The old woman frequently advised and talked to the young boy. Tommy did what he was told and promised to use more reason and less emotion in the future. The worker didn't know that his boss, Dexter, was devising a plan to make him look bad and get him fired. Soon, Dexter had the chance to put his plan into action, which he did. Everyone at the local office was looking forward to Miss Murphy, the CEO of the company, coming by. She was the company's public face, and everyone tried to make a good impression on her. Maybe to get a raise, or to get along better with the boss. Only Tommy wasn't allowed, because he knew that the CEO of the company wouldn't care much about mops and cleaning products. But everything he said turned out to be wrong. Miss Murphy walked around the office and watched how each worker was doing in each area. When Dexter's boss walked into the office, he dropped a cup of coffee on the ground on purpose. The brown drink went everywhere and quickly made everything dirty. Every time Dexter went home over the past few weeks, he locked his office with a key. Tommy couldn't come in after work to clean up because of this, so the office was a mess. So it was the first thing Miss Murphy saw when she walked in. She asked, "Dexter, what is this? Does this branch office not have someone who cleans? The office is dirty," she told him. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said quickly. "Our new cleaner just isn't as good as he should be. He really is to blame for everything. The boy does a lot of things wrong, and I think it's enough. I honestly don't know what to do with him." The director looked at the scene again, though for a second, and then told the cleaner to meet him in the meeting room in 10 minutes. Almost everyone in the office heard this and started to worry about what might happen to young Tommy. The cleaner's sad face showed how worried he was when he walked into the room. "Good morning," Miss Murphy told him. "Pull up a chair and explain your behavior as soon as you can." Tommy wanted to say something, but he didn't, because he didn't want to make things worse. The executive director finally stood up and moved closer to the worker. "Okay, you can tell the truth," she told him. "Dexter is getting on your nerves, isn't he?" she asked. The cleaner gave an odd nod, which made Miss Murphy's guesses true. It turned out that Dexter was always getting himself into trouble like this, and a few workers had already told the boss about it. The woman also noticed his office was the only one in the building that was dirty, which made her suspicious. A few of Dexter's co-workers gave her trouble in the past, which led to cases that cost the company a lot of money. This was the last thing she could take. The two talked for almost 3 hours after Murphy's questions were answered, and the truth was told. When she saw that night was coming, she called the secretary and asked for the head of Human Resources Department and Dexter. The senior manager, Dexter, was fired because he made the workplace bad and caused the company to lose money because of all the cases. Also, all the other businesses in the area would know everything he did, which also made it hard for Dexter to get a job in his field again. On the other hand, Miss Murphy liked how kind and smart Tommy was, so she set up a job interview. The interview went very well. Even though he had never done it before, he seemed to have the best ideas and plans. So he was hired as a junior agent. Because he was smart and worked hard, he was put in charge of the whole sales department after only 2 years. After that, everyone in the office changed how they talked to the former cleaner. Holly said that she had thought about it and now feels that they would make a beautiful couple. She said she was sorry for the way she had treated him, but Tommy hated people like this. He didn't like people who took advantage, and he didn't want to give her another chance. This is Tommy's story. It shows that if you have a strong spirit, you can get through even the worst times. This is the story of Tommy, a young man with a strong will who defeated difficulties over and over again. In a world where problems test your strength, his life shows how strong the human spirit is and how important it is to keep going. Tommy's story is inspiring because it shows that there is always a way out, even when things look the worst. Everyone who is having a bad time should take hope from this story. It should tell us that we can change our lives and get through even the hardest challenges if we are motivated, work hard, and don't let others define us. Tommy's story shows us that where we choose to go on our journey is more important than when we start. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and join us on our journey to bring more amazing stories from all over the world.